Yo, what's up? It's your boy E.T. Welcome to another edition of Mass Impact, the educational podcast. Now, look, the reason why I started this, I truly believe that education is the way to close the gap, the wealth gap, the digital divide gap, the opportunity gap. Look, the American dream gap. Can I be honest? Everybody's not experiencing the American dream in the way it's supposed to be experienced. So the reason why we started the Mass Impact, the educational podcast, is to close that gap. Now look, mass is simple. It means motivate, actionable steps, which means what? We're going to give you strategies every week. So we're not just going to motivate you and inspire you, which is important, but we're going to give you actionable steps. And look, it's a support system, y'all. Thus Mass. It's your boy E.T. Now you know. Let's go.
What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy E.T. as always, super excited. We out here making impact, y'all. We're not talking. We're not thinking about it. We're not overthinking, overplanning. We're literally out here making mass impact. We're going to talk about, we're going to revisit some impact we made with some people we made it with today. So you don't want to miss this episode. Again, mass impact, man, motivational. I tell people all the time, I just haven't seen a person who is successful who doesn't have a why. You got to have fuel. You got to have something to wake up to, something to get after, something to go get, right? And then, of course, we got to take action. It's one thing to have fuel, but hey, where you going with that vehicle? I never put gas in my car, just sit it in the garage for weeks. Every time I put gas in my car, I'm going somewhere. So where are we going? What are we trying to accomplish as educators? And then finally, I don't care who you are, and we'll talk about this today, to make the dream of taking these kids, we say it all the time. We took it from Jamal, your level of exposure determines your level of success. But it actually took a team to pull this exposure experience off. I wasn't able to do it by myself. I wasn't even able to do it just with my team, train Jada, Katie, Vondale. Like, I couldn't pull it off with just them. We had to bring in others to pull it off. And so I just want to even say thank you to, the donors, the $50,000 donors, the 10,000 personal donor, the $100,000 donor. I never even asked. I never said nothing to nobody. And boom, people, this is what happens when you move. People see you moving and they want to support you in your movement. So for those of you out there who are moving, don't get discouraged. I promise you keep moving. Somebody's going to see you. C says this all the time. It's better to get somebody to help you push your vehicle if you're out pushing it yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you're in the car just sitting there, it's going to be hard to get somebody just to come and push, but when they see you pushing it, they know exactly what's going on. You have a better chance of getting support. So I want to say, don't give up. Keep pushing. If you're by yourself, keep pushing. Somebody's going to see you eventually, and they're going to help you. And then once they help you, somebody else is going to help you. And then one day you're going to be like me. You're going to have a whole bunch of support, all right, to get the mission done. So, Katie, talk to us. I know our topic is to discuss our exposure experience to Phoenix, Arizona this year. I thought the dopest comment of the entire experience was the young lady who said, "And why did they have a football game for at Rihanna's concert?" I said, genius. I don't know why they did it. I don't know. You have to ask Rihanna. So walk us through our topic today, Katie, and bring on our special guest.
Yeah, you got it. So just to catch anybody up that's just joining, we have been in 8 different schools across the country doing the Playbook program. We're working to increase literacy and leadership skills and support students with all kinds of things and support their staff and their families, and really excited about that program. And because of the amazing partnership with the School Days Foundation, you guys decided to help out with helping give like a carrot to those students that were working hard. We asked them to increase their attendance, decrease disciplinary referrals, increase their grades, GPA, to get involved in their community, to do some reading, choice reading. And then the kids that did all of the things, their staff helped us choose those that were able to be a part of the Youth Exposure Program. And the Youth Exposure Program recently just took a group of 41 kids to the Super Bowl. So that's what we're here to chat about today. We want to bring in, we'll do another one where we bring some students in too, because we want to hear their voices are powerful. But today we've got two special guests, two principals that joined us on the trip, helped with their leadership and brought students with them. And I'm going to bring in Mr. Daryl Prelu and Mr. Anthony Marone. And we're so glad you guys are here.
Good to have you guys.
Be here.
Good to have you.
Absolutely.
Good to have you.
Yeah. What's up, brother?
You know what?
See you guys.
Let's just, we are always on here and I'm always talking. So let's just, let's switch it up today. Just talk to us, Katie, I don't know, maybe each one of us could ask a question, but I guess for me, what was it like? Maybe what were your thoughts, prior to like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going, it's a field trip. You know what I'm saying? Really, it's a glorified field trip. We're going on a field trip. But what were your thoughts maybe before going? And then what were you guys experience, coming back with the students?
So Calvert County is kind of it's not a metropolis, to say that. And to see the kids get the exposure like you guys have been talking about beyond our four walls of the high school was great. Getting to the airport, watching them kind of maneuver that the first time. And then by the time they were coming back on the second trip, they'd become experts of how to handle themselves. They were super nervous. Just getting that exposure, I think they learned well beyond, it was a reward for them, but it was also a learning experience getting all that exposure.
Yeah. And you say nervous. Yeah. What do you mean when you say what they were nervous? Like, what did that look like?
Some of it was their first time on a flight. Some of them first time leaving the state. None of them have been to Arizona before. So there was a lot of first time things for them. Some of them first time staying at a hotel. So by the end of the trip, they all wanted to move to Arizona because that was the first city life they had really seen. It was a great experience for them.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a dream that became a reality. When we speak to our students, unfortunately, their mindset, their growth set is small. But this opportunity exposed them to outlets that now they wanted to continue to reach out to. I mean, they met their peers from Chicago, Lansing, and these kids are networking now. So these kids are forever in a network that we can never take away from them. Had they not had that opportunity to go to the Super Bowl or just to leave Maryland, they would never have had that opportunity. So we thank, School Days Foundation for the opportunity and the exposure that our students had. One of my students was like, I had my Super Bowl hat on. She said, Mr. P, you got to take that off. It's bringing back memories. I want to go back to Arizona right now. So we've given them an outlet, and I'll keep saying it. We've given them an outlet, an opportunity to see various parts of the states. Even though we were in the airports in different cities, we didn't go outside into the elements, but we were in the airport. Our students was still an opportunity and exposure to be outside of a place that they're used to. They're used to Calvert County. Calvert County is a small rural county, and to leave it and be out in the elements, it was a great thing for them.
Love it. I love it.
Love it.
Good, guys.
Mondale, you brought a group from Chicago as well. So, we call you kind of a part of our team, but really you came as a chaperone with your own students. So you chime in too and tell us about their experience.
That's good, Kate.
It's the same Anthony just said, right? They were nervous, their first time flying on the plane. And we specifically honed in on the west side of Chicago. The west side of Chicago have a lot of elements the south side of Chicago does. And we wanted to get these young brothers out of their 2-mile radius of their community. And so when they said, hey, we ain't got no money to go to no Super Bowl, boom, School Days Foundation. And so people that say what they want to say, naysayers about what we're doing, it's about exposure. And the highlight for me was we were getting off the bus. It was Saturday. We were going to the Super Bowl experience. And one kid pulled me to the side. Singleton, I need to talk to you right now. And I said, man, you all right? What's wrong with you? He said, man, I never thought in a million years that this would be me. He said, I'm a senior getting ready to graduate. And man, I've never flown on a plane. And I'm going to the Super Bowl. He said, man, I can feel that the air is different out here. I'm seeing a palm tree. And he was like, I will never be the same, Singleton. I will never be the same. So he said, I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you for providing these opportunities for us. And I said, well, you thank ET, School Days, Katie, Aaron, and that team. But, you know, just to see them real time show gratitude in these types of moments, that you know that they always are going to go back to a moment like this. Man, I went to the Super Bowl. They're going to tell their grandkids, I went to the Super Bowl. I saw Rihanna. And it just so happens football teams were playing, but it was her concert, right?
That's right.
But yeah, it's for me, every opportunity that we have, you know, to expose our young people when they go back and they can shift their thinking and their mindsets about who they are in the world. Man, no price you can put on it. None whatsoever.
I love it. Good. I love it. Trey, you got a question for
him? Well, I just wanted to add to that as well. But yeah, I do have a question. But I'll just add that, 41 kids to the Super Bowl. I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that's a lot of students, chaperones, a lot of tickets. But, in the big scheme of things, I always hear, just over the course of years, like, if I can save one kid, right? People always say that if I can save one kid, then I've done enough. But when you look at how many kids we're working with, and we only took 41, but I'm saying why is that like not enough? One is enough, but now we're taking 41, but that's not enough, right? So It's kind of like that balance of, okay, how do we be best stewards of what we want to do, financially, but still making the most impact? So I think that saying, hey, 41 kids this year, 20 kids last year, 10 to Dubai, next year we're doing more. It's like, so don't look at it as just 41 kids. Look at it as we're just keep adding. And by the end of it, we're going to be at, 5,000, 10,000 kids. We understand we can't save every kid, but by the end of it, if we're at 10,000, is that enough? So I just think we need to really think about it like that. Like 41 kids' lives potentially could be changed forever from this trip. And we need to think about it like that, as opposed to, okay, maybe this kid didn't get on this trip, but let's just not look at the glass half empty. Look at it as glass half full. So I think that's super important that we just notice that 41 kids, that's a lot of kids' lives that we potentially could have changed. We know that, like I said, potentially, hopefully it's going to do what we expect it to do with that exposure piece. But the question, I do want to ask the staff that question as far as the students that were selected. I just know it has to be so difficult to try to pick these kids. I know y'all had a great crop of kids that come through. So how did y'all, and Principal Barone, I guess I'll let you start, but how did y'all end up making those final decisions? And I know that probably a lot of pressure was on y'all as well. We kind of gave y'all a guide of things we were looking for from the students, but at the end of the day, we know you're with these students every day. You guys are heavily involved with the program all year, which we're very appreciative for, because we know it's a lot of work on your end too. How did y'all make those final decisions?
Well, it was tough. Narrowed down to 5 out of 50. Some students kind of withdrew themselves, but then there was a lot of students that bought into the playbook and really dove in. And those are the kids we really identified to go to the Super Bowl, were the ones that committed to the program.
We're losing him a little bit. We'll bring him back in though if our technology hopefully comes back up. Can you still hear us? Daryl, you want to chime in there? Okay, good. How about you?
Well, our students made it easy for us. I'm just going to be honest with you. We started out with 50 students. We told them this is the deal. This is the goal. And with the end in mind, the students knew these are the goals you have to accomplish. So maybe 2 weeks down before Super Bowl, before Katie, and Aaron started putting out that we got to start narrowing down the names. We got down to 9 names, and the students just eliminated themselves, process by elimination, where they either didn't meet the goals for their academics or their behavior, or their attendance, And by the grace of God, when it was time for the final list, we had 5 students. And I like the breakdown of the 5 students. We had 4 males, 1 female. Each ethnicity was represented. So we took a well-rounded group of individuals. So it's all about what do they want, right? And so one of the young men, when I called his mother and I let him know that they were going, because I brought the student in and I called each parent, and he said, Mr. Prelo, I told my parents when we first heard it, the first night at the school, at the parent night, that I was going to the Super Bowl. So that young man set a goal, right? And so we get them goals to accomplish. They obtain those goals if they know that there's a, and it doesn't have to always be a reward. It has to be sometimes self-gratification, right? I'm doing this to better myself. And so we even had one parent, and I called her, she said, am I being pumped? You're telling me my son is going to the Super Bowl. I said, no, ma'am, this is real. And so it was just a pleasure and a joy to speak with each of those parents when their individual Cavalier made it to the Final 5. So, the students, they did it themselves.
Yeah, unbelievable. One of the things I think about is just that somebody said to me, man, it's like, bro, you set a goal and you do it. And I'm like, that wasn't always the case. God is good.
All the time.
Like, yeah, that wasn't always the case. My word wasn't always bond, and I'm grateful that at this juncture in my life that it is, and it's been for a period of time where people have forgotten when I didn't win the championship. You know what I'm saying? Like, they forgot when, you know what I'm saying? I made it to the playoffs and didn't, advance that far. And so I want to thank God, as well, because, I think one of the things that we're able to teach the kids, which a lot of us struggle with growing up, in certain communities, is that stuff like this doesn't happen to us, and people, I don't say this in a bad way, but I think sometimes when you grow up in a certain community and things don't happen for you, people sell wolf tickets. And I don't think they do it, to be negative. I think they do it because the one thing we all want is hope. And so people kind of oversell stuff for the purpose of giving people hope, but you end up really letting people down more, when you do that, And so for me, I was so grateful, when the numbers came, it was like, hey, here go the numbers. And I was like, oh, we good. Like, if those are the numbers, then God will provide. If those are the numbers and those are the people that did what they needed to do, he's going to take care of them, and I think that's important for those who are watching to know that whatever program you have or what are you doing, you don't have to shrink or you don't have to feel like you can't reward the kids. One, reward them, as was stated, with self-gratification, self-motivation, self-regulation. But then 2, you can let people know that good things happen to good people. That they do. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me, coming and seeing even the principals. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I felt like, for those of us who are administrators, we didn't start as administrators. Let me say that. You don't start your career as an administrator. You know what I'm saying? You start your career just like everybody else does, earning your stripes, And so for me, being in the educational system and being an administrator, I thought it was phenomenal that for once in a while that our leaders, also had a chance to be blessed.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes as the leaders, we're always making sure, my grandma always made sure everybody else ate first. She would slave in that kitchen, for days. And she made sure everybody ate, sometimes she did, sometimes she didn't. So we grew up understanding that concept that, you got to bless other people first. But to see our leaders get an opportunity, to be blessed, was also big, big for me. So, and I thank you guys for coming out, and doing that with the kids. And it was funny, as we were, making certain decisions, we were like, oh no, our leaders got to get blessed. You know what I'm saying? Like these still 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds. They gonna get another opportunity. We getting we're a little older. We need to get the hookup right now. You know what I'm saying? So I was grateful for that as well. Vondell, you got any questions? I know you played both roles, but any questions you might have?
Yeah, I got a question for our leaders here, Katie and Train. I mean, gosh, I know how planning these trips go. It's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of work. What was it like for you, just kind of seeing the end result of it all kind of culminate and come together?
Yeah. I'll jump in. Being there, of course, and being with the students is the best part. Of course, all this time you spend planning everything and getting to see the impact for them. We do try to make it, I know you said field trip, but we do try to make it a really impactful learning experience for kids too. So they journal, we give them journals, and they journaled the whole time. And we had opportunities for them to share about their reflections with each other. And so that for sure was one of my favorite parts, getting to walk around and hear their journal entries and hear them talk about and just really process as they were going through the weekend, like how they thought this would impact their lives. And I know, Train, you said before, we can't change everybody's life, right? But this 41 is so impactful. But even bigger than that, like these 41, I believe they're going to go change lives. And so it really is bigger than that 41 number. And one of the days that we journaled and the kids shared out, one of them said, I think I know what I want to do with my life before, and I never knew. And I think I want to lead trips for students across the country,
that's powerful.
Places they've never been before. And I've never thought about that before, but I think that's what I'm going to do with my life. So that moment I was like, oh my goodness, right? Like the impact is going to be so much bigger than we'll ever get to know, because they're going to go out and change the world and impact so many more lives themselves.
I love it.
Yeah, I would say that for me, the game is like the last thing on my mind.
Me too.
It really is. Like I know that that's the highlight of the trip, and that is a huge piece of the exposure part that we always talk about. But one, kind of leading up the trip, my first goal is everybody gets home to their parents safely, right? We don't have to make any crazy phone calls. So as some people say, I'm kind of, I don't want to say the bad guy on the trip, but I don't have a problem speaking up and letting kids know, hey, this is how we're going to do things, because it's very important. It's a huge responsibility on our shoulders to have all these children, students, across the country from where they are, a lot of different modes of transportation, hotels. I mean, a lot can go wrong if you're not very organized. So, but the thing that I like the most is interacting with the students, right? So I don't have a problem speaking in front of a large group and being a little loud and letting them know, hey, here's the expectations. But I don't feel bad about doing that, because in between those times when I may have to be a little more stern, I'm having individual conversations with students. I'm letting them know, like, hey, I'm a real dude. I'm hopefully giving off an energy that I'm easy to talk to. He really truly cares about me. So when I do have to have those conversations that are, maybe not as fun, that it's not as big of a deal, right? Nobody's like looking at me like, I hate that guy, right? Because I just had a conversation with you for 10 minutes about your school, your life, whatever it may be. So that part I love. And then also I love the part where the students from other cities get to meet other students, right? That's a huge piece of it. Again, you have not heard me mention the game yet, right? So there's all these other pieces that go along with these trips outside of football, right? Outside of the Super Bowl. It's like the principals were stating, on a flight for the first time to Arizona, first time in a hotel, meeting people from other cities, right? You're going to, different restaurants, things like that. Again, no football is involved in any of that stuff. They can go see a football game, and you can go see the Bears or the Redskins, the Commanders.
I'm older.
Yeah, right. So all that stuff is more important than the physical game itself. So that's really what I love about the trip.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, a side note, I was excited, and I don't know if you guys the principals, if you got a chance to meet my daughter, but my daughter played, a small role in the kids, coming this year as well. And so for me, this is a person that I held in my hands when she was born. I was at the hospital, when she was born, and, came home with her, at the hospital. I got videos of when I used to travel and speak. I used to take her and my son with me, until my wife made me stop traveling with her alone. But she was probably about 3 or 4, traveling with me. I got one video of me actually preaching, and she's running up in my arms, disrupting the whole church service for me to hold her. And I'm holding her and preaching. And to see her now as an adult, she just finished, her master's degree at Michigan State. So she's one of those kids where she did school for, 16 years? So that's all she did was school, so she didn't do anything else. She's just like one of those kids that's just like super focused. And for her now, to be working with us in this mission and taking it serious, what I'm saying? Like she's taking it serious, she's like a mother, what I'm saying? Like she don't have a lot of play in her, It was just amazing to see her there, to see my son there, and unfortunately, when they're both involved, my wife has no choice but to be involved, so my wife is there. And it was just a joy seeing all my worlds come together, because for so long it's been me and my wife, or me, my wife, and my son, but like I said, my daughter was in school. And so to see her and her mom, ordering the pizza and putting the stuff together and them talking and, chopping it up, I'm like, wow, this was a dream of mine. My biological father wasn't in my life, and so, I grew up where I don't have any sibling that has the same mom and dad, and while I had a great life, I wanted something different. I wanted my family to be whole, if you will, and so to see them all together, my wife and my daughter, to see my son with Isaiah filming and, catching it and saying, hey, Dad, whatever. It was a great experience. And it couldn't have happened without the students. If it was just been me and my family going to the Super Bowl, which we have done those type of things together before, it doesn't have the same impact because we're going for self. This one, we were going for others, and so I really had it was just a really, really great experience. I got a chance to connect with players who've been watching me forever that I don't personally know. Some I do know. I saw Pac-Man before. I've seen a couple of those guys before, but I saw some guys that, we DM back and forth, or they might like a video. Some other people that I'm close to, I got a chance to see. And so the Super Bowl is always a good experience for me. Again, not the game, but that. And I will say this too. Training, I made it our business. Like we kind of stood on the outskirts and we let some other people take our seats, if you will. So for people who watch me to get a chance to see me and we chopping it up and we taking pictures, that meant a lot to me. I always tell the story of Michael B. Jordan when my daughter wanted a video from him for her birthday. And he was like, I got you, E. I know how good it felt to have somebody that, we watch be so kind. And a lot of times in our industry, people aren't kind. People are very rude and very standoffish. And so I've always wanted to be the person that's like, hey, if you like my video and you think I'm somebody, what I'm saying? My mortgage company doesn't feel the same way you feel about me. What I'm saying? They're giving me a hard time plus late fees if I'm late. And so we got a chance, Train and I chop it up with some people. So it was an amazing event. And I'm just so grateful I had a chance to be a part of it. And by that, I just mean I didn't get to go to Dubai. It was after Thanksgiving, Didi and I were pretty exhausted, so we didn't make that trip. Even though we were blessed to be a part of it, we didn't get to physically go. And so, a lot of the kids were like, where's ET? And I couldn't make it. But this one, I was physically able to be there, take pictures with the kids, talk to them. Right. So I had a phenomenal experience. And as a parent, I love the fact that everybody got home to their mama and daddy, whoever they was going back to, grandma, they made it back safely. So for that, I'm eternally grateful to God.
Yeah. And to transition a little bit, since we have administrators on, principal, I don't know if, but it looks like Daryl's still on. So I'll ask you though. I was going to ask both of you all. I think it's important when we have leaders on of schools, and you all are principals of fairly large high schools. This isn't like a little small charter school off doing his own thing. You guys are principals of large high schools in large district. And one thing I noticed while we were at the Super Bowl was it seemed like every student there, y'all had a personal relationship with. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting and I know obviously they're on the trip with you and you know them all, but like it seemed like they really knew who you guys were and you really knew who they were. So you're at a school with, thousands students or more, and yet it's still have these personal relationships with students. So can you talk to us just as an administrator, since this is an education podcast, of how to be a great leader and make those good relationships with your students when you're one man pulled a million different ways with, I'm sure, a million different things going on at the school, but yet you still find a way to make those personal relationships with students. I think it'd be great for other leaders in schools to hear who may be struggling with that. So if you don't mind sharing about that, that'd be great.
It starts with being transparent. You have to be real. You have to be vulnerable. And my students, I'm out and about all the time. I'm always speaking to students. I'm always saying, hey, how you going? Good morning. Because I don't know how our students are coming to school. They probably had a bad start. So my good morning, how you doing? Every time I see them, I'm always having these little side conversations with them, getting to know them, and being present. I mean, you have to be. I'm all over the place. I'm in all four corners of the building. They see me here one time, they see me another place. Like, Mr. P, I just saw you. Or when I'm in the classroom, Mr. P, you following me today? I'm just making sure that they know that the presence is there, because the number one goal for my students and all of my stakeholders when they come into this building is that they feel safe. And so if they can always connect to that one safe face, that's a great thing. I make it a point to be at as many functions as possible, whether it be school plays, musicals, athletic events, because when our students see us, they then come into the schoolhouse with a safe, familiar face, easy person to approach and talk to, speak to, just to, have a general conversation, joke around. It's just, it's about the relationships that we establish with our students. And by me having strong relationships with our students, then the parents now, hey, I got to meet your principal. Yep. I send a message out every weekend, and I'm singing. I can't sing worth a lick, but I'll give a little tune or something to a song, or with my message, just to make the connection. And so I'm known as the singing principal. And just little small things that we do and how we connect with our stakeholders.
Love it.
Is very important. I made it a point. It was very important that when I met, the champs, when I met the crew from Lansing, that it was my goal to chat and speak with each of these individuals, because they don't know me, but they can get to know me. And so the individual conversations I had with these students, hear the creed, all in. And then, they're saying the creed. I don't know the creed, but at the end, everyone was saying all in. And so it was just that camaraderie, everyone getting to know each other. But it started with breaking that ice, going and speaking to someone. You don't have to know someone to speak to them. You speak to them, you break the ice, you have a conversation, and you begin to see that shell begins to peel back, and everyone's talking. And what I loved about it was everyone was just walking up to each other and talking. How you doing? What's your name? Where you from? It was great. The first night we got there, students were just talking to each other. The students were talking to the adults were talking to the adults. So we didn't treat ourselves as strangers. We became a family, whether we want to call it extended family, immediate family, or whatever it may be. We were a family. And so that connection is there for life. You know, I may never make it back to the Super Bowl, but guess what? I had the experience that I can share with my grandkids, my great grandkids, you know, God willing. And I'm always connected to the School Days Foundation. I can always just check in. How you guys doing? You know, just breaking bread and making sure everyone's in a good place. And so that's that's the thing that gets me going. My connectedness with people and my relationships and how I communicate and deal with people. And I think that's how I've been so successful in 29 years in this profession. So just having positive relationships with individuals and them knowing that Mr. P is there for them. What I think is key. I'm not always gonna be the most favorable person because of my position. Students are gonna not like me because of my role, because I have to discipline them. But if they understand the relationship and they understand that my goal is for you to still be successful and me to be able to effectively communicate to them that because of your actions, you're getting this consequence, but I still love you. I still love you. When ET came and spoke to the students, I sent birthday cards to every student. And so I would always put, happy birthday, have a blast. And so ever since his speech to the students, every student I put on their card, you are great. And so that's what they get that and when the kids get that, they're just happy. I acknowledge them on their birthday. And even my staff, you are great. And so it's just being true to yourself, being transparent and just loving everyone because it takes a village. And I'm a part of that village.
I love it.
Well
I love it.
Wow.
I love it. Hey, well, man, hopefully we can get the other school leaders back, on at another time. But this has been phenomenal. Man, thank you guys so much for assisting us and making our vision become a reality. Again, it's only so much you could do. No man is an island. Offense, a great offense needs a great defense. And a great offense and a great defense need a great special teams, and it needs a great coaching staff and it needs great fans and it needs cheerleaders, so no successful anything is done alone. And so we thank you guys for the part that you played. It's really been a phenomenal experience. We look to surprise your teachers coming up soon with the free program. We pray that it all works out. We're talking to the leadership now. But we look to come back and really emphasis is on the teachers. Of course, we hope to have time with the students, but we want to pamper the teachers. One of the things that I know as a teacher is April and May, was the burnout time frame, so we want to get in there and help with the burnout and do some things to reward them and hopefully put them in a position where they can end the year strong. So thank you guys so much for being one of the schools that believed in us. And we pray that the Lord will bless your school and all the schools in that county. And just thank you for everything. Katie, as always, thank you. Train, Vondell, thank you guys. And we're going to turn it over to Coach B.
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Principal's Office here at Mass Impact, the education podcast. Today is a very special episode because we're talking about the School Days Foundation Youth Exposure Program. And you've already seen the footage everywhere on social media. You know that certain students from our playbook program, along with their chaperones, principals, etc., were able to go to the Super Bowl and watch the big game live and in person. It's an incredible experience that honestly, many of us adults have never had the opportunity to have that type of exposure. But as Jamal King always said, your level of exposure will often determine your level of success. By exposing these kids to this type of environment this early on and showing them that it's actually their performance in the classroom that allowed them to earn the right to be at that experience, we're teaching them that one, your work ethic will pay off, and two, just getting them in that environment is going to unlock certain things in their mind. I remember even when I was an athlete, you know my story, you know, I was a gymnast for my entire life. And I remember when I was training in Huntsville, Alabama, as the only level 10 men's gymnastics athlete in the entire region, really, I remember not being able to look around and see other people doing what I wanted to do at a high level. I remember looking around and not really knowing what was next or what was possible, or not really even knowing what pushing the envelope would look like in my sport, because I was at the top of the game. I was that person in my area, and I didn't see anybody else who could push me to do more, to be more. And then as soon as I went to a gymnastics camp for the first time ever, I think I was 14 years old. I went to this summer camp in Tennessee, right? And I saw these guys that were so much better than me, and it was the first time ever. And I said, oh, that's what's possible. That's what life can look like. That's what I'm capable of if I apply myself. That's exactly the same experience that we're going to give these kids, and that we have given these kids at the Super Bowl experience from the School Days Foundation Youth Exposure Program. So the question that I want to leave you with today is, what can you do to get creative? What can you do to think outside of the box? What can you do? We don't have to take people to the Super Bowl. We don't have to take people to Dubai. But what can we do on a daily basis to increase the level of exposure so that we can therefore impact the level of success for our students? That's it for today's episode of the Principal's Office. Thank you so much for watching Mass Impact, the education podcast. And you already know, we'll see you next week.